With a question I asked of whether he thinks Senate Democrats should oppose President Trump because it's good for the party or work with him when they can.
Well, my test is the specifics. We're not going to work with him for the sake of working with him. We're not going to oppose him just because he says something, it's something that Trump sponsors. But let me give you a couple of examples on both sides. Surprisingly, on certain issues, candidate Trump voiced very progressive and populist opinions. For instance, getting rid of the carried interest loophole, changing our trade laws dramatically, a large infrastructure bill, cleaning up the swamp in Washington. These are things that Democrats have always stood for, and frankly, Republicans have always been against. So we're going to challenge President Trump to work with us on those issues where we can. If he doesn't, he'll be breaking his promise to particularly the blue-collar workers, many of whom voted for him on those particular issues. But on issues where our values are at stake, where the president goes in a divisive direction, where his campaign did before, we'll go against him and with everything we've got. We're not going to repeal or help him repeal Obamacare. We are not going to roll back Dodd-Frank. I think they should forget about that. We have 60 votes to block them. We're not going to help him build his wall. We have a comprehensive immigration reform bill that builds a much tougher border security. It had bipartisan support than he's ever called for. So we're not going to oppose him just because it's Trump, but we're certainly going to stick to our values and oppose him wherever he opposes those. You know, but I hope, Chuck, one final thing, I hope on the promises he's made to blue-collar America on trade, on carried interest, on infrastructure, that he'll stick with them and work with us, even if it means breaking with the Republicans who have always opposed these things.
You know, you may have the longest relationship of any current U.S. Senator with Donald Trump. I know you frequently speak with him. I'm curious, how frequently have you spoken with him post-election?
Well, look, number one, I didn't know him that well. We see each other occasionally at events in New York, but I really didn't know him very well.
You did a walk-on The Apprentice, so you guys must have been somewhat palish.
They asked me to do it, and I was surprised, but I really don't know him that well. I learned far more about him in the campaign. I was troubled by a whole lot of things in the campaign. The only thing I can say to my colleagues is, you know, President Obama met with him and said the presidency is a sobering experience. So I hope that President Trump will rise to the occasion, and when he does, we'll try to be supportive, but when he doesn't, we'll use everything we've got to oppose him.
I'm interviewing you right now from the suburbs of Detroit. We're doing a big focus on what happened, for instance, in Macomb County, a place where there were Obama-Trump voters. Why do you believe the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton lost these voters that voted Obama in 8 and 12 and voted Trump in 16, particularly in a place like Michigan?
Well, you know, when you lose an election like we did, you can't flinch or look away from it. You've got to look it directly in the eye and analyze what you did wrong, and the analysis will continue. But my preliminary reading is very simple. We did not have the kind of strong, bold, and pointed economic message that appealed to these people, and a message that talked about how rigged the system was in Washington. What I hope to do as our Democratic leader is craft policies and platform and message that are bold on economic issues, that are strong on economic issues, that don't just nibble around the edges. And what that will do, I believe, is unite not only Democrats in the Senate. You've seen in our leadership team, this kind of message has gotten Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on our team, as well as Joe Manchin and Mark Warner. But much more importantly, unite America. I don't think there should be a choice. You know, people say, well, should we go after the Obama coalition or the blue-collar workers? A bold, strong economic message will unite both of them, both groups. It'll appeal to the worker in Oakland County, the factory worker, the college student in Los Angeles, the single mom trying to get above minimum wage in Harlem.
Let me finally ask you about the Supreme Court. Obviously, you were not pleased with how Senate Republicans handled the Merrick Garland nomination. I assume, barring some miracle for your side, it is not going to be brought up during the lame duck. How...
Pray for that miracle.
Are you going to Are you comfortable filibustering any pick that a President Trump makes? And if that happened, do you fear the nuclear response, essentially, by the Republicans?
Well, first, I hope that President Trump picks a mainstream candidate. A mainstream candidate is somebody you may not agree with on every issue, but basically believes in precedent and basically believes in following the law.
Why shouldn't? What does that
it's
mean?
Interesting.
Can he nominate somebody in your mind that is, say, Ted Cruz? Is he too conservative for you?
I'm not going to get into specific candidates, but we'd hope it would be mainstream. If it is mainstream, you have to remember the last 4 nominees, 2 from President Bush, 2 from President Obama, got bipartisan support on the bench. If he doesn't nominate a mainstream candidate, we're going to go at him with everything we have, or her. Go at the candidate with everything we've got, because this is so important. Now, you know, Senator McConnell has said let's not use the filibuster, but they don't come with clean hands, having delayed Merrick Garland for a whole year. And furthermore, I was the person when the rules were changed back a few years ago, when Leader Reid changed the rules. I said, let's not do the Supreme Court. We should have 60 votes, which we still do, because we should get bipartisan support. So I hope both President Trump and Leader McConnell would recognize those facts.
All right. Senator Chuck Schumer, I got to leave it there.
Thank you.
Democrat from New York, the new Senate Democratic leader. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.